guys, so today I'm going to be talking you through Khal and Welbeck's jump school that I did the other day. So this is Khal. He is a 5-year-old, in case you don't know. I backed him myself and everything, and we actually bred him. So when I just start by doing a lot of walk. I change the bend, I get him to bend to the left, and then I'll change the rein. I'll do lots of little figures of 8s and circling around jumps. And I feel like it's really good just to get them listening to you, moving away from your leg, getting them to loosen up both sides of their body. And yeah, it's also good to see if they feel stiffer one direction over the other. So yeah, I always start with lots of walk. Then I move them up to trot. Again in the trot, lots of changing the rein, lots of circles, moving around jumps. Khal, I try to get him to work long and low, but sometimes he curls behind the vertical a little bit, which you will see a few times in this video. This is just weakness, and I try to push him out of it by putting on more leg and by lifting my hand slightly. So this is just a baby thing that he has gotten a lot better with, but still sometimes dips behind the vertical a little bit. Here I'm doing a circle, just getting a bit of an inside bend, but then you have to try not to let them fall out through their shoulder either. So it's getting that little balance between a little bit of bend, but still them going straight, not drifting around the corner. Here I'm changing the rein again, just always switching things up so he doesn't get bored or kind of a bit dead in the trot. He is a lazier kind of horse, so if I just went around the outside, he's just going to get slower and slower because he'll just get bored. So I try to switch things up, keep him thinking a bit so he's not, he doesn't get too slow. So now we're going into the canter. I don't do too much in the canter. His canter is still a bit weak, mostly because he has such a huge stride. It's very, very hard for him to shorten. So I do a lot of circles, making sure he's straight through them and isn't drifting around his corners, because if I turn to a jump, I don't want him drifting and then it'll mess up the line to your jump. So all my flat work is focused on getting him rideable to fences, because obviously we do show jumping, so that is the most important thing to me. So then we change the rein and then we go on the right rein. So here you see he's getting quite overbent and behind the vertical, so I lift up my hands. I was going to canter, but then I said, no, this is not a good trot. So I'm lifting up my hands, trying to get him out of that. Sorry about my mum's filming. And then once he starts with a better trot, I ask him to canter. So all my canter transitions, I try to make them as smooth as possible, but he still needs to react off my leg. He used to be a little bit dead off my leg. In the canter, he would just trot faster. So that was just doing lots of transitions, insisting that he cantered off my leg. So I would ask with my leg, and if he didn't, then I'd use a schooling whip to tap behind my leg and make him go into canter. Again, sorry about my mum's filming. She's out of practice. So yeah, we just do the same little circle and a nice rhythmical canter and then back to trot. So now we start jumping. The jumping I was doing today, I had a pole on the takeoff and landing side of the fence. So it was kind of like a bounce pole that he has to canter over it and then jump and then land. This is because he has a really, really big stride. So it's really easy for him to just take off quite far from the jump and then land quite far from the jump. But if I'm going into a double or something like that, he needs to learn to take off closer to the base of the fence and how to prop himself up and jump away from the fence. So that's what this is teaching him here. It's teaching him he has this small area to take off and land. So he has to really work quite hard to get his body away from the fence. So you can see he tries a few things. He slows down, he speeds up. It's just learning for him. A few times he jumped kind of to the side, but I have to really work on his straightness, especially on this left rein. He tends to go bend a little bit to the left, and he doesn't go as straight as he should. So that's something I'm going to work on now on the flat work. I'll be cantering over loads of poles and making him definitely go really straight. So that was the last time I did it on that right rein. It was really, really good. I was super happy with him there. It was the perfect jump, is exactly what I was asking him to do. So I gave him a good break, and then I went to do it on the left rein. Here you see he tried really, really hard, but he twisted his legs a little bit to try and get out of the way instead of propping backward, like away from the fence. So I went around again to see if he would do it a little bit more correctly. I made sure I was having him really, really straight. I was using loads of outside leg to get him straight, and then he jumped that really, really well. I was super happy with that. So I left him with that. Then I moved on to a double because I just wanted to do a little bit of double practice with him. Again, here you can see a lot more the way he drifts. He has his body bent to the left. He's not so straight on the left rein. My mum accidentally videoed these all in slow-mo, so I thought I'd give you a bit of a slow-mo on that one. I did it on the right rein as well, so an oxer going in, because an oxer going in versus a vertical going in are quite different, so it's good to practice both of them. You can see here he's a lot straighter through the double. On that left rein I really need to work on getting him straight. He's just not as straight as I would want him to. He definitely jumps the right side of the fence, you can see here, but there he was super careful even though he was quite close to the jump, so I was really happy with him there. Now we're on to Welbeck, who is probably the polar opposite to Khal. She's much more hot and forward going, whereas Khal can be a little bit lazy at times. Welbeck always wants to go. She's just, her default is to go faster, Khal's is to go slower. So with Welbeck, I'm just trying to relax her. On this day, it was not easy because it had been lashing rain the last 2 days, so she hadn't been ridden in a few days. So she was a little bit more excited than usual. But we got some good work out of her, and she was a good girl. She tried to relax. So when she's really hot, sometimes the reaction is to take your leg off, but it's actually better to keep your leg wrapped around her like really firm and just a steady pressure, because it just reassures her that you're there and it doesn't make her feel like she's on her own, and just it's kind of like holding her hand. So I just keep my leg on and ask her for a little bit of bend, a little bit of flexion to the left and right, and it just releases her muscles and gets her to relax and start to stretch a little bit. There wasn't much stretching going on today because she was quite excited, but I actually rode her the next day and she was way more relaxed. She was really, really good. So it is a pity that I videoed on the day that she hadn't been ridden in a few days. But anyway, so then we are doing a bit of cantering, just a few circles. Like, she's a very good girl. Like, she's very established on the flat. She just kind of knows what she's doing. You put a bit of leg on and she just kind of bends around it. She's a very good girl. Quite easy to ride on the flat, that's for sure. So then we have a canter on the other rein, and then we get to jumping. So this exercise, you trot into it. It's a cross pull, one stride to a vertical with a pole on the landing side. As you can see there, I just did it with the poles on the ground, and she was so good. The fact that she really slowed down and looked at the pole, I was really impressed. Because sometimes she can just race a little bit, but there she really slowed down and thought about what she was doing. So I was really, really pleased with that. So then we put up the second part as a little vertical, and again just the same. She finds this way too easy, to be honest. When I compare it to when I jumped the same exercise on Fiona, they're completely different horses. Fiona found this so difficult to compress her stride and to be quick off the ground, whereas Welbeck is so naturally quick. She just pinks. It's just nothing to her. So we put up these V-poles just to make sure she was staying quite straight, and maybe to help her jump around and jump away from the fence. But honestly, she didn't really need it. She was just she was doing her Welbeck thing. After the jump, she does get quite excited, but I just keep a steady pressure with the reins and my legs, and then she just settles down like after a few strides. So I don't worry too much about that. That's just the excitement because she hasn't jumped in like 3 weeks. So then we put it up again, I think. Yeah, and also we're jumping off both reins to make sure we're keeping it even, working off both sides of her body, because it's very easy to have a one-sided horse, so it's very important to make sure they're able to do everything on both reins. So there, I was very happy with that. She jumped up through her shoulders, and like, she's such a careful horse, it's really not that problem. Then I jumped this, and she decided to jump over the landing pole, even though she knew what the landing pole was because she just jumped the grid. So we rolled it out a little bit more, and I really steadied her to the first part, and she went, okay, I understand now, I jump inside this. It just shows how brave she is. She was just like, yeah, I'll jump over all of it, no worries. Then we jumped that, which was like 120. So it's my first big fence on her for ages. So I was really, really happy to be jumping her again. She's so much fun.